Yard Act, a band that has swiftly become a pivotal name in the British post-punk genre, boasting a totally distinct sound. A fusion of post-punk, indie rock and sharp, socially aware lyricism, spoken poetically and comedically through lead singer James Smith's non-apologetically northern accent. If you're a fan of sharp, witty lyrics and groovy, hooky bass lines, this is a band for you. So let's explore Yard Act's history, their meteoric rise, and why their strain of post-punk has been so resonant in the music scene of today. Yard Act formed in Leeds, England in 2019. The band consists of James Smith on vocals, Ryan Needham on bass, Sam Shipstone on guitar, and Jay Russell on drums. Smith and Needham, having both been part of separate cult Leeds bands before, moved into a place together. They started writing songs, and soon the foundations of Yard Act was formed. Their early work was heavily influenced by the vibrant Leeds music scene, a city steeped in music history and celebration, known for its DIY ethos and eclectic mix of genres. Places like the Brudenell Social Club venue and former 90s Leeds band Grammatics are nodded to in their music. This environment provided a very fertile ground for Yard Act's music. Smith's background in literature and theatre also contributed to the narrative style of their songs, adding a depth and unique wit to their music. Yard Act's initial releases, Fixer Upper and The Trapper's Pelts, garnered significant attention. These tracks, filled with biting humour and keen observations of modern British life, quickly resonated with listeners. Their debut EP, Dark Days, released in 2020, further established their reputation, blending catchy riffs with sardonic commentary on societal issues. In 2021, Yard Act signed to Island Records and released their first album, The Overload, in 2022. The album received critical acclaim, praised for its clever lyrics and dynamic instrumentation. It peaked at number 2 on the UK album chart and received a Mercury Prize nomination, a seriously impressive feat for a debut album. The Overload resembles classics like Blur's Modern Life is Rubbish, but with the biting wit of the Fool's Mark E. Smith or Mike Skinner. It's a razor-sharp critique of contemporary society, filled with declamatory ire and sardonic humour. It explores themes of money, or the lack thereof, and features nuanced character studies of diverse figures, such as tall poppies and crooks, council litigants, and those striving to live without hypocrisy. The band's core catchy tunefulness in tracks like Land of the Blind are complemented by unexpected musical twists, including sound effects, ad-libs, and surprising guitar counter-melodies. It's a record that's raucous, fun, incisive, and profoundly heartfelt. As the album concludes, vocalist James Smith delivers a disgusted apology for the sins of British foreign policy, adding quite a powerful emotional layer to the overall record. The success of The Overload cemented Yard Act as one of the most exciting new acts in post-punk. From here, the band toured relentlessly, and like most bands, the heavy touring schedule began to grind on them, and the grandeur of success in the music industry began to crumble. Now, having such a critically acclaimed debut album that puts you on the map is, of course, a great thing, but it also comes with a lot of not so great things. Hard work, constant travel in promoting the album, and of course the pressures of delivering a second album that lives up to the first. It's easy for bands to question their lifestyle through this transitional period. Despite doing their dream job and succeeding at it, it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment when they've made it. It's not like they've become millionaires overnight. Their financial and personal insecurities haven't just disappeared. The illusion or the idea of success in music is often much different to the actual reality of living it. This theme is seen throughout the band's second album, appropriately named Where's My Utopia, released 2024. Songs like An Illusion, Dream Job, and We Make Hits explore the cruel irony of being a successful band. Some songs act as an apology to Smith's son for being away securing their future by signing to a major label. Others justify his fun in the separation. The album explores themes of climate change and the future, as well as Smith's personal history and his purpose in life. Yard Act's music stands out in the post-punk genre for several reasons. first, their lyrical approach is both accessible and thought-provoking. James Smith's lyrics often explore the absurdities and hypocrisies of contemporary society, delivered with a deadpan wit reminiscent of classic British satire. This lyrical style has drawn comparisons to bands like The Fall and Blur, particularly their storytelling approach seen in songs like Blur's Parklife. Musically, Yard Act blends the angular guitars and driving rhythms typical of post-punk with elements of funk and dance punk. This fusion creates a sound that's both familiar and refreshingly new. Their use of groove-heavy bass lines and sharp guitar riffs provides a perfect backdrop for Smith's vocal delivery, making their songs both danceable and contemplative. Now, one of the defining features of Yard Act's music, and personally why I love them so much, is their ability to mix humour with groovy, dancey beats and some serious social political commentary. Fixer Upper is a perfect example of Yard Act's narrative style. The song tells the story of a character named Graham who represents a certain type of modern British man. Graham is a bit of a caricature, with his grand plans for home improvement and casual bigotry. Through this character, Yard Act critiques the superficiality and underlying prejudices in some segments of society. In their debut single, The Trapper's Pelts, Yard Act uses vivid imagery and storytelling to address themes of exploitation and greed. The song's protagonist is a fur trapper, symbolizing the ruthless pursuit of profit. The minimalist instrumentation with its repetitive bass line and stark guitar riffs enhances the song's tense, uneasy atmosphere, and it really showcases Yard Act's ability to tackle heavy themes but with a distinctive musical approach. And We Make Hits, a standout track from Yard Act that exemplifies their unique blend of sardonic wit and social critique. The song addresses the commercialization of the music industry and the pressures that artists face to produce commercially viable work over authentic, meaningful art. Through its catchy, repetitive chorus and driving bass line, the song satirizes the obsession with chart success and often hollow nature of mainstream music. The lyrics, delivered in James Smith's characteristic deadpan style, expose the absurdity of equating artistic worth with commercial performance. Musically, the track features sharp, angular guitar riffs and a rhythmic, desperately danceable beat, reinforcing the ironic contrast between the song's catchy sound and its critical message. I mean, just listen to these lyrics. I just want to make a point that the culture would have died and post-punk's latest poster boys wouldn't have got to ride on the coattails of the dead and claim that their derision is a vehicle for their vision of subverting it instead. I mean, that's just pure poetry. The song also attacks this stupid idea that any punk band has immediately sold out if they make any money. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Why should they not get paid for the art that they're making? Traditional post-punk bands of the late 70s and 80s, such as Joy Division and Gang of Four, often focused on themes of alienation, political unrest, and existential angst. While Yard Act continues this tradition, their approach is more nuanced and satirical. Their lyrics are steeped in contemporary social commentary, addressing issues like gentrification, political apathy, and the absurdity of modern consumer culture. This reflects a shift in post-punk towards a more introspective and critical examination of society. Yard Act's music is not just a critique, but also a reflection of the times, capturing the complexities and contradictions of the 21st century. Now, Yard Act are among this new wave of post-punk British bands, which I personally love. Some have called it crank wave, some have called it post-Brexit wave, and some have called it simply the post-punk revival. And they've all been described as bands that seem to talk over post-punk music, often leaning towards a more post-rock sort of genre. Producer Dan Carey, along with his record label Wonderground and venue The Windmill, has been a pivotal figure in this movement. From the mid to late 2010s, or post-Brexit, Carey's worked with bands like Squid, Black Midi, Fontaines DC, and Goat Girl, among others, who can count themselves among this crank wave movement. Other bands as well, like Black Country New Road, Sleaford Mods, Dry Cleaning, Shame, English Teacher, and Idols have also been identified as part of this movement as well. Mark Beaumont of The NME beautifully describes it as smart, modern guitar bands with a singer who sounds like someone having a psychotic episode in a debating society. Yard Act's success can be attributed to several factors. Their music is timely, capturing the zeitgeist of contemporary Britain with a mix of humour and critical insight. In a period marked by political uncertainty and social change, Yard Act's commentary feels both relevant and necessary. Moreover, their ability to balance seriousness with humour makes their music incredibly accessible, using character-driven narratives that are as entertaining as they are incisive. Now, another band making waves in the world of punk music is Softplay, formerly known as Slaves, and in fact they kicked up a hell of a fuss when they changed their name from Slaves to Softplay. You can find out all about them by watching this video next.